And I'd like to now start to introduce our keynote speaker for today. That's Isiah Thomas, you probably heard already. Chicago native, Hall of Fame basketball player, serial entrepreneur, a businessman as well, broadcast celebrity and a philanthropist too. He's here with us today, and this really is a breakfast of champions. We are honored to have him speaking here before us today. So our champion and native son, great to have him here in Chicago, the pride of St. Joe's, Isiah Thomas. Thank you.
Buenos dias. Thanks, Alex, and good morning. Sheila, thank you for your passion, your commitment, and just making a morning like this and a day like this and a room like this possible. I am a native son of Chicago, and I'm also an adopted son of Detroit. So any Detroiters in the house, thank you. And I know I got 7 minutes, but I'm gonna try to take 10, just so I can give you a little background of myself, growing up here on the west side of Chicago, and to feel honored and lucky to see a room like this morning. And was it founded in 67 or 68? 67. So I was born on the west side of Chicago, Jackson and Holman, some of you Fifth Avenue in Jackson. And I remember 67, 68 very clearly. My mother, Mary Thomas, street named after her on Jackson and Holman. I lived at that time 3340 West Congress, right off the Eisenhower Expressway. Martin Luther King was assassinated in 68, and the west side of Chicago became a very turbulent spot, do I dare say. So my first 10 years was very turbulent. Not only was the Chicago riots in 68, but we were also occupied, locked down, and couldn't go past Western, and couldn't go past Pulaski. And some of you West Siders may remember that very vividly. John, by the way, congratulations again. And I texted my brother, he told me to ask you to make sure, do you remember Tito? But John went to St. Philip's with my older brother, Lord Henry. And at that time, we had a lot of turbulence on the west side of Chicago. And what it was all about was trying to strive for equality, trying to strive for inclusiveness, and trying to imagine and dream of a room like today. I couldn't go past Western. 1969, there was another assassination. Black Panthers headquarters was on Madison and Western. And there was a gentleman by the name of, his name is Congressman Rush right now, but he was in charge of the free breakfast program. I ate breakfast there every morning. I also stood in the soup line on Madison and Kedzie. Some of us call it 10 South Kedzie. I don't know why we call it 10 South Kedzie. But I stood in that soup line. And my mom, my dad, and everybody who was fighting during those times was fighting for us as young kids to one day grow up and be able to dream and be able to sit in a room like this and to be able to come to the Hyatt Hotel and to be able to come downtown. That's what this is all about, is continuing that dream and honoring the fight for all of those who continue to fight for equality, justice, and diversity. And we found that diversity and inclusiveness in business also adds up to dollars. The more diverse the room is, the more inclusive it is, the more money you make. But we also found, just like I found in sport, that you want to play on a level playing field. And as Reverend Jackson has always said, when there's officials in the stand, when there's officials refereeing the games, and there are people in the stands, and you're in between those four lines, then the playing field is level. And that's what sports is all about. Sports is all about being inclusive, leveling the playing field, and when you not fortunate enough to get drafted by your hometown team, and you end up playing in Detroit, and you still harbor some of those West Side angry feelings, you always come back and you beat your hometown team. But I am the seed that was planted. I am the voice that stands before you today that my mom and dad fought so hard for me to be. And that a lot of you in this room fought so hard for me to be. There were a lot of seeds that sprung up out of that Chicago rough time. And as I stand here before you today, as a businessman, as a sports champion, the thing that my mom was the most proud of before she passed away is that I got my master's from UC Berkeley in education. It was never about sport for us. It was always about education. It was always about reading, writing, being able to articulate yourself. So when you call me the native son of Chicago, and the character in the native son, his name was Bigger Thomas. I am Isiah Thomas. And although we have similar paths, I didn't kill anybody except for the bulls. They should have drafted me. But you learn to advocate for yourself, and you learn to speak for yourself, and you learn that when people advocate for you, and they give you voices, and they allow you to speak, and they allow you to express yourself, you learn to fight for yourself. But if you don't have people advocating for you like Sheila, then it's a hard road. It's a very hard road. And when you don't get certified, very interesting word, certified. And I'll take you back to 1967, when we were fighting as a people to be acknowledged, to be certified, to have a seat at the table. That's what the fight was about. And we're still fighting to be certified and to be acknowledged and to have a voice at the table. So those are two pillars. Certification, certified, advocacy. And then you have to develop and connect. Did I hit the 4 pillars? All right. I have been developed. You know, I honor my mom. I'm proud of my dad. but my mom is my Lord and Savior. And to some of you in this audience, that may be blasphemous. But my mom was my Lord and Savior. Because every day, my mom made sure that she got up and she walked to work every single day. And she was standing those food lines with us. Back then we called them soup lines. And I had a photographer here today say, you know, when you take a picture, put your chin down a little bit so they don't look up your nose. But when we were standing in those soup lines, my mom said, baby, pick your head up. And you stand here proud, and you stick your chest out and your chin up. And I was standing there proud, waiting for food. My mom brought the bread. My mom made the wine. My mom was my everything. Just as there were so many parents in our community that were like that. Moms, dads, sisters, brothers. We were all connected. And so when we talk about that connectivity, and we talk about working together and being together, that's what this room is all about. Not the one-offs, not the singular, but everybody working together, everybody networking, getting to know each other, and sincerely helping each other. Not for money, but just for that human dignity of service to truly help your brother or your sister. And when you help and you serve, you get that wonderful feeling in your chest, around your heart, that money can't buy. So I thank all of you this morning for coming, being, and committed to service, helping each other, helping your fellow man, helping your fellow woman. And I was asked this one question. They asked me to leave a message in terms of the next 20 years, the next 30 years, what it's going to look like for the minority community. And the question was about technology and artificial intelligence. And how can we thrive in that business? And I smiled when I was doing the research because it brought me back to 1967, 1968, 1966, 1965, when Malcolm X was murdered, assassinated. And we got Malcolm X College right here. The words back then were, know thyself. And this thing that we call technology and the computer and everything else right now, artificial intelligence, once you know yourself and you know your molecular structure and you know how your cells work and you understand your DNA and you understand everything that's inside of you and you start using it, well, the artificial intelligence will be just that, artificial. And when we can teach people how to use what's inside of them, particularly people who are in poverty, because I didn't understand why I loved playing basketball so much until I got into the NBA and I understood what endorphins and adrenaline does. It's like, wow. So when you get that adrenaline rush and you get some endorphins moving, damn, you're not hungry? So that's what my mama used to always say. I said, Mom, I'm hungry. She said, boy, go outside and play. I'll leave you with that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me here. Buy Sherlon Champagne. I didn't get into any of my businesses because I felt that this was more important in terms of just sharing with you the importance of working together, servicing each other, and just being good human beings. And if we can do that, our businesses will be all right. Buy Sure Lawn champagne and drink a lot of it.